And of course, we're fortunate to have with us to talk about what the State Department of Education in the state of Tennessee is doing in reference to literacy is Miss Tabitha Siddiqui and Mr. James Herman. And of course, Ms. Siddiqui and Mr. Herman, let me welcome both of you to the show this morning. And perhaps Ms. Siddiqui, to start with you, by having you to give us some information relative to your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in terms of bringing you to the State Department of Education, dealing with the Even Start family program. I think that is the name of that program. And of course, Mr. Herman will give us the same information, different information relative to his background, experiences, and et cetera. And then we'll get into perhaps doing the second segment of what the state of Tennessee is doing in terms of programs and personnel and et cetera, in terms of trying to increase literacy in the state of Tennessee. Let's start with you, Ms. Siddiqui.
Thank you very much for inviting us. I got into the Department of Education because of a job interview, actually. My background is I went to Cumberland University. I graduated with my bachelor's degree, and I came to the state and did an interview with Susan Doty. She was the director of Even Start at the time, and I came in under a Family Literacy Consortium grant. And she had me hooked from the first day. She did my interview, and she just reeled me in, and I've been here ever since. That was in 2000. I worked with Susan for 4 or 5 years, and then Becky Goldstein took her place. And unfortunately, we lost Becky to cancer, but I took up the torch, and that's why I'm here. And I firmly believe that Even Start works.
Very good. And of course, Mr. Herman, what about your background and information leading you to where we are today?
Well, I've taught school for 32 years at all levels. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree, and in my old age, I'm currently working on my doctorate at UTC. When I came to the State Department, I was in special education, and then I went into family literacy, and then I became director of the Reading Excellence program, and now I'm director of the Reading First program.
You know, Mr. Dickey, the status of literacy in the state of Tennessee is one that, in a real sense, places us near the bottom in terms of any kind of national ranking. And so, over the little time that we have before the end of this segment, let's have you and Mr. Herman to make some kind of statement in terms of where we stand in literacy in the state of Tennessee today. And then we'll continue after our first commercial break. Let's start now.
I can say with absolute certainty that literacy is where a person's education starts. You cannot get a good education if you are not literate. And unfortunately, the highest population of illiterate Tennesseans happens to be among the poverty-ridden. So we work strenuously to bring them in and find them programs that they need, either through their children. If they want to further their children's education, we bring them in. And then if we find out that they don't have an education that will get them a better paying job or send them on to college, we help them get their GEDs. We help them. We don't send them. We help them. We help them help themselves.
Well,
that's the whole point.
Well, it seems, Mr. Herman, that if we're associating literacy with poverty, it means that we have to do something in reference to poverty in order to increase literacy in the state of Tennessee. Would that be, would that make any sense?
I'd say that's absolutely right. When we disaggregate our information, our assessment information, poverty and literacy go hand in hand. It really is true, and we do need to look at the poverty and how does it impact literacy, and what we're going to do about it. Yes, I agree.
Well, now let's look at those 3 areas there. How does poverty impact literacy when we come back? How it impacts literacy, and what we're going to do about it. I think that would be something that is very, very important in terms of, and then I think that we might be able to use all of the information that you have to deal with that major theme during this second segment. Of course, we're getting ready for the first segment to end of this show. We've got about 20, 25 seconds. and then we'll come back and give both of you an opportunity to look at the impact that poverty perhaps has on education and what the kind of programs, for example, that we have that can deal with that and the success of the programs that we do have. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. We're talking to Mr. Tabitha